The Glaivekiyo situation is pretty crazy. Everybody's talking about it right now. Did he or did he not use AI in his videos? If he did, how much was it? How long has this been going on for? Is this the end of the world? It's a fraud, it's a hack. All this sort of conversations, all this kind of talk is going on right now. And I kind of wanted to say my piece on everything, but I want to approach this not from a place of I want to take this creator and drag them down in any sort of way. I want to have a conversation about AI usage in content creation because this happens on such a frequent basis for a lot of different content creators to different extents that it's very prevalent in a content creation scene. And I want to actually talk about that itself and how people perceive it, how much of it is good, how much of it is bad, and why people can feel uncomfortable when they know others use AI in content. Now, when it comes to Glaive, I want to be very clear and full transparency, okay? But I think that's the important thing about this whole conversation is transparency. So from me, full transparency, I consider myself pretty well acquainted with Glaive. We've had calls, I've been in VCs with him, we've hung out before. Like I consider myself pretty acquainted with the guy. I don't think he is an evil guy. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he is someone who has committed this awful sin that deserves to be punished for like a length of time. I don't believe that he should have a career ruined over something like this. We have reached the point in content creation where AI generated material is, I think, believe like the most consumed type of content right now. I think especially when it comes to shorts or TikTok, like AI stuff is everywhere all the time. You cannot escape it. This media is here to stay whether we like it or not. And even the YouTube CEO themselves have basically said that, yeah, we're kind of cool with this stuff happening. And the reason why we're seeing this being prevalent more and more is because these tools are so easy to use, okay? Literally so easy. Within minutes, you can generate scripts from basically nothing or just feeding a bunch of information you can find from sites or from notes and generate whole scripts for 8 to 12 minutes, however length of time that you desire, and they can be made instantaneously. Spend a couple more minutes making sure that some of the information is correct, configuring things around, just double checking stuff, and suddenly within like half an hour you have a fully fledged script ready to be recorded and shipped. But if we're specifically talking about the gacha space, there is another level to this that makes script writing oh so much more crazy and beneficial to be using ChatGPT. Why is that, you say? Well, do you know we always have these conversations all the times of like, oh my god, I'm so fatigued from all these gacha conversations for every game. It's the same conversations, predatory practices, power creep, banner releases, character designs, all this kind of stuff is a repeated conversation for every single one of these games have very similar problems. People talk about them in videos, on Reddit, online, in forums globally. Let's not forget how big of an audience gacha is, okay? The Game Awards already proved that to us. People talk about this stuff everywhere all the time. So there is a vast amount of information that these language models can pick up from the internet, from us making these same points over and over and over and over again for literally years, okay? So it's very easy for ChatGPT to generate scripts and all that sort of stuff for gacha specifically because we non-stop talk about these issues online. So to some extent, I can't blame people for when they go to ChatGPT to, hey, here's some points that I have, can you help to make it longer? And it sounds convincing because there is just so much information out there already of people talking about these topics. And this might be a bit of a hot take, but even if we were to assume, just by hypothetically, that if Glaive, for example, did have 100% generated AI scripts for some of his gacha videos, doesn't that kind of say a little bit something about the gacha space as a whole and the type of content that people like to consume when it comes to this kind of sphere? I think that kind of speaks volumes. People just want to hear the same points over and over again, just said in a different way for like a different patch. And that's just the reality of the situation at this point. I can already tell there's going to be this unfortunate situation where Glaive is going to be used as a proxy for other creators to attack the whole gacha space, and even other creators for being like creatively, morally sort of like maybe bankrupt perhaps, you know what I mean? Like this is an example of why the gacha space sucks and why these other people can't like do content and they're taking like all the views. Clearly this proves why the whole thing is bad. And I just want to be real. Regardless of what you think on like Glaive's like content, it being AI done or whatever, that doesn't stop you or other people from creating good content that can get views. Glaive is not stopping anyone from making good content. I consider myself to be someone that's pretty good at writing, creative writing, script writing. I've worked in media and marketing for a number of years. I like to think I'm pretty good at putting my thoughts and coherently being able to talk to you about stuff and putting words on paper and getting everything out there that I need to in a pretty succinct, partly doesn't get rid of my speech impediment, but in a succinct and comprehensive way that you can understand. I'm also someone that has been very critical of AI in the past, but has tried to embrace it and use it as a tool for things in my life. I use it for research. I use it for looking up things. I use it to test certain things. And I've spent a lot of time over the past, I'd say like 6 months, getting to understand these language models a bit more and how they work and how I can utilize them to help me with stuff in my own life. And I've gotten used to how they speak and how they sound. But full transparency, when it comes to scripts and videos, I think it's pretty obvious you can tell that it's all coming like from my head. Every script that I've written has been by me, just to let that know. But I do use AI and ChatGPT for other stuff in my life. And with that, I think comes the real conversation that we should be having. At what point does AI go from I'm using it as a tool to help me to is this even my real feelings and opinions anymore? Am I letting the AI speak for me? Am I losing my own personality here? Like, who are people watching at this point? And I think that's the problem that most people have. You can make accurate points of what you want to say in your videos and ask ChatGPT to help you to generate a script. But ChatGPT will generate it in ChatGPT's tone. It's very recognizable to people that have used it for any extent of time. And so then it becomes this thing of like, well, am I really listening? Like, who is this content creator? Are they being raw or real? Am I listening to ChatGPT? That's the worry people have. Like, people want to relate to a content creator. They want to understand a content creator. But once you recognize that something has been generated by a script or generated by ChatGPT, that line blurs a lot and leaves people feeling like they've lost like a sense of trust. Like, I don't really know what this person truly believes now. Because there is a big difference in how you present yourself as a content creator and your words out there, okay? There's a difference between I using AI as a tool to help me get my point across versus is this actually my real perspective? Once that line kind of blurs, people's trust inevitably gets broken. Because obviously, if you start sounding like ChatGPT because you're generating scripts with ChatGPT, that's not your personality anymore. People struggle to relate to you more. And now when people find out about this stuff, they're going to be like, well, I don't know the real kind of you anymore and your voices and your opinions. And honestly, that's kind of my feedback and advice. I call this friendly advice. I have no issue with someone or Glaive using AI tools to help him generate scripts. Just when you get the scripts, maybe put a bit more effort into not making them sound like they're ChatGPT or not making them sound arguably kind of dog shit. I think people would want to see that. People want to hear what you have to feel about it, because very obvious from like Glaive's content and his streams, he has a personality. I've spoken to the guy. He has a voice. He has his own way of communicating, and that would be so cool to see in his actual videos. Go and watch Glaive's some of his oldest videos where he's not scripting. He's just like talking. He's interacting. He's doing stuff, you know, with his voice. He has a personality. He has a personality, and he shouldn't be afraid of using that in his content. He can carry himself in his content, and I don't think he should be afraid of letting that out. That's the thing that I'm kind of like, not like mad about, but like passionate about here. Like, go and look at his older videos right now. Go do it. After you watch this, of course, go and look at them, okay? He clearly has personality. He can communicate, and he can be really funny. I think it's pretty clear that doing the whole like essay style content was the way to grow a channel, like meta wise, right? Like you get someone to make an essay style video, get people to react to it, and grow your base because you're making all of like based in W points all the time in your videos. That's the easiest and quickest way. Like at least like I want to say like a year ago, kind of, to grow your content. Every like Glaive did it, like Saint's another example of someone who did that initially, right? Just making like essay style videos goes a long way, and it did, and I can understand why people take the route. But I think also knowing Glaive's personality, he shouldn't be afraid of like putting more of himself like out there, of the stream personality that people know him by. Because he's definitely at the point in his content creation like journey where people will watch him regardless of whatever he wants to post. People want to be there for him. Being kind of an authentic person doesn't mean you can't use other tools or people to help you, right? Ghostwriters exist for singers. If you work in research, you will have research assistants. You have editors to edit your videos. Using tools is not something that we should be scared of, and I will include AI and ChatGPT, for instance, in this bubble too. However, the important thing is how much of you, yourself, you as a person, is in that final product. That is the key thing, and that is what is most important in this conversation. So I'm not upset that AI is used to make scripts or to help to be used to make scripts. It's more about the authenticity of the person inside the content itself. If we're content creators and we want to be relatable to people and we want people to accept us and our opinions, that's really important. Even if, for example, it is the case that Glaive is worried about, English being his second language, and he wants to make everything feel succinct and coherent and sound right and professional and proper, or whatever it is, that's okay. I'm not going to slate anyone for doing that, and I can understand. But I also don't think there's anything wrong in saying, hey, we can also spend a bit of effort trying to make it sound like it's a bit more like a bit of us in there, because at the end of the day, people want to see that from you. People want to see a bit of you inside of the content that you make. Because what, otherwise we're just going to be like a voice actor for a script? No, people want to hear your like way of judging it up and being, yourself around it. The AI conversation is a never-ending debate that does not have a conclusion, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that no, we should never use AI ever, and it's morally reprehensible, and anyone who does it is a bad person. Or the other side of like, hey, like AI opens the doors for a lot of people to be able to create content that otherwise wouldn't have been able to, or have the same resources or ability to, and it lets them get to like an even playing field. So it's a good thing in that respect too. Like, you can go to either side of the spectrum on this, but the reality is AI is coming whether we like it or not. The only thing we can do is regulate how it's used and our transparency when we use it, and the authenticity that comes across in our content. That's the only thing that we can manage and appeal to at this point in time. Like, I feel it's impossible for me to give a conclusion to like a never-ending discussion, because it's going to be here. It's going to happen at some point in time. So we might as well try our best with it and see how that goes. I don't have a solution. I'm sorry to say, like, I don't have an answer. If I sit here and be like, anyone that uses AI is a bad person, like, I'm just gonna look like an idiot when in 2 years time everyone's doing it, everyone's using it increasingly more, like, then I look like the idiot, right? Like, I accept the reality of what is going to happen with the world, but I think there is something to be said about authenticity in content. That is the only takeaway that I can have, is authenticity in content and how much an audience will relate to you as a content creator. Again, I think this is unfortunate. I really do. I think this is an unfortunate situation for a lot of different reasons, but I just kind of know, like I said this earlier, this is going to be used to attack the whole gacha space. It's going to be used as a vehicle to paint the whole gacha space as being low effort, low quality, slop. These people only want to consume slop content. If they're happy with AI content, they'll consume anything. Like, quality doesn't matter. Who cares? This whole space sucks. Like, I can already tell that's going to be the narrative for a while now, with this space. There's no doubt about it. And I do think that is that's unfortunate. There are also going to be a lot of people who are going to be very opportunist about this situation and use Glaive and blame him for maybe why their content isn't doing particularly well or doing good. Just wait. I guarantee Like, I guarantee it, there are going to be people who blame Glaive for why their content isn't succeeding or performing. And like I said at the beginning, Glaive isn't stopping anyone from making good content that can get views. I do think, however, it is reasonable for some people to feel maybe like jealous or kind of like resentful of a situation, like especially if you're someone that spends time making essays and writing scripts, and then you hear other people are able to like AI generate theirs and get more views. I can understand why someone would feel like a jealousy or resentment towards that. I totally get it. And it's just, I really think in that situation, it's more or less to blame the algorithm more than anything. Like, this is the kind of thing YouTube promotes. The CEO of YouTube himself has been on record recently for wanting to promote AI usage. Like, it's happening. This is coming from, this is so much of a bigger deal, okay, than we think. It's not just like a Glaive issue at all. This is happening so much. There are so many other like channels that are just like completely AI slot, from voices to scripts to like videos of people making the most bare bones AI videos ever. And we don't see people like making these exposés on them, but no, because it's Glaive and he's like a successful like creator in the space, it's a bigger deal and he's getting targeted for this kind of stuff, when it's kind of like, it's a lot of different factors that go into this whole situation. You can't hate the player, hate the game. You know, the game's the game. If it worked, it worked. I mean, hey, what can you do about that? That's no one's fault other than the algorithms and YouTube's fault at the end of the day. The only thing that like I could say to myself is I just need to make better content. I need to find the thing that hits the algorithm better. You gotta play into the game. That's the reality of like a lot of content creation. What I do think is really important, and something the platform should try to consider in some way, is some kind of transparency filter, right? If you use AI in your content in some major way, like in terms of the actual video content itself, or with scripting, or you're using AI voices, your content should be labeled as this was assisted with AI, because I really do believe people should know if it's really you coming up with these points or you've had help along the way. I think that goes a long way in developing viewer content creator trust, which I think was kind of what YouTube was kind of like made for, like initially, to people to create content that's creative and having an audience to respond to it. And I think that's important. I really, really do. Here's the reality of the situation, right? Tens of thousands of people have enjoyed Glaive's content. So really, do they care if it's AI? Does it mean something to them if they've been enjoying it this whole time? Do you think they're going to stop enjoying it now suddenly that they know that it might have been AI generated? Like, I think it like opens like a weird like philosophical conversation to be had. Like, do people actually care, or do they just care about what they're hearing? Like, do they care about who's saying it or the point that's being said? I think that's the real conversation. And it's be an interesting one, because clearly if they're like, yes, I don't care if the points that are being said or something I agree with, then I'm okay with the content. Then maybe you're someone who doesn't care about who's the messenger but what's being said, and maybe that speaks to something in the gacha space of like, people in the gacha space only care about a certain kind of mentality. Like, I can already see the roads, like the lanes people are going to take with this whole situation. I hope the conversation shifts into more of a conversation about the broader topic of AI usage and how it could be regulated, or what the appropriate like social norms are when we come to be using AI. How do we disclose we're using AI? What's the transparency social norms that we should like adopt to kind of put that out there? I think is like the conversation to be having with this stuff. So that's kind of where I want to end this conversation, not with Glaive, but I think, what is your opinion on AI usage in videos? At what point does the pendulum swing for you and it becomes from being socially and morally acceptable to something you can't really personally get behind? Are you someone who doesn't care about the messenger but just the points being made? Or are you someone that has to have relatability to a content creator and their message and authenticity? Does that matter to you? I genuinely want to know, and I think that's the conversation we should be having here. What is it that a viewer of content in the gacha space wants to see? I think that is the next step here. So yeah, final thoughts. Just look out for the people that are going to use this to attack other creators and the space as a whole. Just be mindful of that, be wary. And I think wait for Glaive's response. Wait for him to speak for himself on this kind of thing is really my takeaway from all of this. And let's have a conversation about what you think is acceptable AI. I appreciate y'all. Let's have a decent conversation and respectful one. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.